Hello, friends, faculty members, staff members, and students of CEPT University and Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi Insitute of Architect and Environmental Studies, KRIVIA, and all the well wishers of both this institution. I am Thakkar, and I have been recently appointed as the head of exhibitions at CEPT University. I also teach at CEPT as an associate professor at Faculty of Design, and I am an executive director at Design Innovation and Craft Resource Center at CRDF. Kohima, Objects, Institutions, and Identities. This is our second online exhibition at CEPT Exhibition Center. This exhibition is a result of collaboration between CEPT and KRIVIA. The exhibition showcases the work of the students of KRIVIA who went on a study trip to a wonderful village called Kohima in Nagaland. Kohima is a beautiful village on the outskirts of the city. What is very interesting about this exhibition is the bottom-up approach. The study of the objects and the artifacts which are created out of the traditional crafts of Nagaland and the contemporary culture become a base. This material culture becomes a starting point to unravel the relationship between architecture, lifestyles, institutions, and the associated identities. Let me take this opportunity to thank all those people who made this Kohima exhibition possible at CEPT University. I would like to thank my dear colleague, Professor Arthur Duff. Professor Duff was the head of library services and was a key person in bringing the collaboration between KRIVIA and CEPT University. I would like to thank Rohan Shivkumar, who has been instrumental in spearheading this study. Sandeep Menon, who has been backbone in putting this exhibition together. And let us not forget all the students of KRIVIA whose hard work is seen in all the panels presented in the exhibition. Now, for a wine, it is not only its age or the way it is being made that matters, but also the way it is being presented and packed plays an important role. In a similar manner, in order to present this content, the credit goes to our exhibition team, Harsh Bhavsar and Nidhi Badrakia. For any fabric, its strength and structure does not only come from the warp and the weft, but the way it has been weaved. For us, Payal Den is one of the person who weaves all the events and activities seamlessly together, and I would like to thank her for that. The foundation builds the value for an institution, and for us, that foundation is Tejaswini, the librarian, and her library team. The silent presence and the sheer hard work brings such an inspiration to all of us. In such times of pressure, of pandemic, the Susim Mohanty and his communication team bring smile to all our faces through their quirky and intense way of communication and marketing. For this event, we have invited Professor Anjali Yagnik, the Dean of Faculty of Architecture. Further, I would also like to thank the IT team, the finance team, and the Autelia Softwares team, whose effort has been instrumental and very important in putting this exhibition together. In this new emerging, borderless, and the fluid world of the pandemic times, it has been very difficult to know what is real and what is virtual. We have now entered into this brave new territory of the online exhibition in order to show you all and share with you all the knowledge and the resources related to design, architecture, planning, technology, craft, culture, and heritage. In 2020, we will see series of such online events and exhibition from the CEPT Exhibition Center and the CEPT University. And in 2021, we hope to bring an amalgamation between both physical and the virtual world. CEPT University's constant endeavor to transcend the normal has allowed it to venture into the borderless world and create long lasting relationship and the collaboration. And the CEPT Exhibition Center has been a platform to showcase that. Thank you very much.
So good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to deliver the opening note for this exhibition on traditional architecture in Kohima by students of the Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi Institute of Architecture. So any event that turns the spotlight on a town like Kohima must begin with a short description of the turbulent history of Nagaland. So if this were a design studio, then this would be like getting to understand the site. The students who prepared this exhibition must already be knowing all of this. The Naga tribes, who have a reputation for being fierce warriors and even headhunters in the past, seem to have been continuously at war over many centuries with their neighbors. That is, the Burmese to the east, the Manipuris to the south, and the Assamese to the west. However, they took great pride in the fact that they had never been subjugated. But all this changed when the British colonists consolidated their position in the Naga Hills in the early 20th century. And in parallel, Christian missionaries from the US and Europe, who were stationed in India at the time, were successful in converting Naga tribes from animistic beliefs to Christianity. As of now, almost 80% of the population is Christian and literate as well. Then during World War II, the Japanese in 1944, with the help of Subhash Chandra Bose's Indian National Army, attempted to take India and the British Empire through Kohima via Burma. So much of Kohima was evacuated and defended by British and Indian soldiers and Naga troops, all of whom lost innumerable lives. The Nagas subsequently demanded autonomy from the British and from India after independence. But they remained a part of Assam, and this led to nationalistic activities with violent attacks. The Indian Army was sent in to restore order in 1955, and Nagaland became a union territory with a degree of autonomy. However, this was not to the satisfaction of the Naga tribes, and the violence actually increased. Finally, in 1960, Nagaland was granted full statehood within the Union of India. So I have reasonably intimate knowledge of this because my father was an officer in the Indian Army and he was posted in Nagaland in 1959. As children, we often heard of colleagues who had been ambushed and killed by Naga insurgents. But getting back to the subject of this exhibition, I hope you enjoy the painstaking research and documentation of residential and public architecture in Kohima through the trajectories of cultural artifacts by these students. So it appears to be a wonderful exploration of traditional or vernacular architecture, which evolves over long periods of time and continues to evolve in modern times in response to the immutable compulsions of climate, of native culture, religion, and changing lifestyles, of tribal stories and myths, naturally available materials, and natural calamities, along with the harmonious evolution of technology. Finally, Nagaland is in the East Himalayas, a sub-range of the Himalayas, which lies between two tectonic plates. And as a result, the Naga Hills are prone to severe earthquakes. And this, of course, also has a huge impact on the nature of building and architecture. So to end the opening note, I hope I have given you some background to this exhibition, and I hope you enjoy it. My name is Anjali Yagnik, and I am the current Dean of the Faculty of Architecture at CEPT University. Thank you.
My name is Rohan Shivkumar, and I'm currently the Dean of Research and Academic Development at the Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi Insitute for Architecture and Environmental Studies in the city of Mumbai. I'm delighted to be able to present some of the work done by our third year B.Art students last year as part of their study trip to the city of Kohima. Thank you to everyone at CEPT for this opportunity. In the third year at the KRVIA, we are interested in exploring the architecture of institutions. Institutions, as we know, are integrally related to the way identity is constructed. As identities shift and morph, so do the institutions that shape them. Given in this formulation is the presumption that identities are not fixed, they are malleable and mutable. We inhabit multiple identities at the same time. We are citizens, Muslims, brothers, lovers, teachers, fans of Rajnikant. We are all of these simultaneously, and we navigate between them constantly, deploying one sometimes, denying the other times. For the study trip, we decided to explore this relationship between identity and institutions in the town of Kohima. Kohima, as you know, is in the Indian state of Nagaland, where questions of identity have always been volatile. To be a Naga, to be a Indian, to be a Christian, these and many more identities have been debated and discussed. Institutions have emerged that enable some of these and resist other formations. Architecture, by giving some of these tendencies corporality, has been part of this debate. This is what we decided to explore on our study trip. For the sake of the study, we did not want to approach the site with any preconceptions that we might have. As far as possible, we wanted to create a process that would allow for a process of discovery. Through a conversation with the students, we arrived upon the idea of beginning from the objects that accumulate around us in our homes, assuming that embedded within these objects are narratives of identity. These narratives could be extrapolated around three axes. The first is spatial, where we could trace the spaces from where they emerged, the communities involved in producing or consuming them, and the institutional structures thereof. The second one was along temporal lines, tracing the history of the object and its institutional affiliations, as well as the desires that these objects represented. This was particularly important for the project as we wanted to postulate that identity formation is not a given by who or what one is born into, but identity formation is an active and creative process where we make and choose who we want to be and become. For architecture, this is particularly important because we give physical form to these desires. The study has concentrated on Kohima Village in the city, which owns the land upon which the city has grown. This village lies just outside the municipal limits and has its own system of governance. The village itself is divided into 4 distinct communities called khels. Each khel has many clans within. The students were divided across the 4 khels. Starting with a measure drawing project of different homes in each khel, they identified objects within the homes whose trajectories they would like to follow. These objects could be historical or ritualistic artifacts, objects from the traditional crafts of Nagaland, or just from the contemporary realities of the inhabitants. They then followed the different trajectories that emerge out of this object, its material history, its daily, weekly, or annual usage, or its symbolic role. These vectors moved outwards through institutional systems at different scales, including the actors and agencies or communities involved. These were then compiled to make a map of identities and institutions for Kohima Village. This is what you will be seeing. To represent some of these stories, we evolved a method of drawing that combined traditional cartographic representation with tools for temporal representation learned from things like comic books and traditional miniature paintings. That's what you'll be seeing today. I'm glad that you found the time to come and see the work. Thank you to CEPT for providing this platform for us to share our work. Please do let us know what you think. And that's it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the virtual exhibition on Kohima, Objects, Institutions and Identities. I'm Sandeep Menon. I'm a core faculty member and the exhibition coordinator at the Kamla Raheja Vidyanidhi Insitute of Architecture and Environmental Studies. This exhibition is an attempt to explore the multiple identities in the city. The students had explored this through the mode of drawing spatial and temporal vectors from the everyday objects that one encounters in the homes of the Kohima Village. Even the seemingly mundane objects identified by the students offer rich embedded cues that allow us to extrapolate these explanatory vectors and navigate from the four walls of the village homes across scale and time to trace the various institutional networks in the city. And it is this serendipitous sense of discovery that makes this exhibition so unique. The exhibition, like the Kohima Village, is divided into four sections, which is actually a reflection of the four communities residing in the village, called the Khels, denoted by the initials of their Angami names, the T Khel, the D Khel, the P Khel, and the L Khel. Kohima Village is nestled in the hilly terrain just outside the municipal boundaries of the Kohima city. The sense of place in the village is unique in that one would find the old and the contemporary expressions of enclosure and materiality in every frame of vision. Allow us to take you through a sneak peek of this exhibition through an assorted set of projects and panels.
The house with the bamboo veranda is located on a steep hillside and belongs to a large family of 8. We have selected 2 objects in the active veranda belonging to Mary, a middle-aged woman. One was the traditional Naga shawl, which is hand-woven. It is a historical attire woven to this day for Sunday church. We have used the shawl to explore the relation of homemade handicrafts to the market as well as the church. The second object was an Asha vest. Asha workers are a health activist community under the National Rural Health Mission. We have used the vest as a starting point to understand the hierarchy of healthcare centers from the Khel to the rest of the village. The Urban Primary Healthcare Center is the only medical facility in the entire D Khel.
Mango's house is located right at the entrance of TKL. Ahead of the gate, situated on the cliff with 2 levels of facade overlooking the seasonal stream and the vegetation. It is a self-built house for a family of 4, made with wooden planks and corrugated sheets supported by timber posts and joists. The house is ground-storied on the front facade with access to a huge front yard filled with potted plants, wooden logs, and parking lots. The 2 objects from the house trace the story of its user and thereby associate the home to the institution. Badminton, the first object, becomes an integral part of the house as it has helped the sun represent the Kohima village at national level. Khel indoor stadiums ensure that every khel has provisions for sports, whereas the briefcase of Mango's father, being the second object, explores the various departments of PWD, which is the Public Works Department, and its working in the city of Kohima along with the KVC, that is the Kohima Village Council.
The three-roofed house, located at the periphery of Lezemia Khel, is a simple single-story tin sheet house amalgamated with wooden structural members. The house is encompassed with a variety of traditional as well as day-to-day objects and houses a family of 4, along with a large front garden owned by the relatives. The name comes from a study of the house's evolving nature and the fact that it has 3 separate rooms made in its singularity by the 3 differently sized and oriented roofs. The object adopted by the group to further study the institutional ecology of Kohima was the abacus made by the youngest son, which traces its origin from the educational infrastructure of the city. Our study led us to understand that Kohima Village in the past few decades has tremendously progressed in terms of its educational development from private schools to schools under the patronage of the church, which we have tried to map within the Khel. The subsequent object opted as a study element was the government calendar, which ties itself to the statutory bodies of the village. The Kohima village government bodies have been efficient in establishing childcare units, literary clubs, post offices, as well as providing a livelihood to the impoverished and also establishing local governing bodies that stretch over multiple khels. The khel also provides for the village a youth as well as a women's committee within its boundary that further serves the community. Our mapping tries to create a connecting run-through of these statutory bodies within the khel and highlights their role within the community.
The house belongs to a 60-year-old lady who works in a government office and also has her own farm that she works on. The house gets its name from the unconventional entrance from the back rather than the front. The house is built in wooden members and in tin sheets for the roof. The lady lives with her daughter, son-in-law, and her granddaughter. The first object that was selected from the house were the tholiro seeds that the lady had procured from her own farm and are traditionally used to play a game similar to hopscotch. She had taught her granddaughter how to play this traditional game and was herself seen enjoying it while she demonstrated it to us. The second object was a piano that her granddaughter plays. She is the part of the church choir and takes special classes for it. Following the trajectory of the church choir, we got to know about the gospel concerts that the church organizes to raise funds. We also got to know about the influence of the church in the history of Kohima and everyday life, and how the lyrics of traditional Nagami songs changed into gospel songs. The local musicians, with the help of village elders, are now trying to revive and record the traditional Nagami songs with the original lyrics and keep the culture alive.
The House of Photography belongs to the Dolphin Club founder Vicky Pele and his family of 11. The house features a long corridor with multiple entries that disconnects the kitchen and the sanitary spaces from the living quarters, which are tied back together in a single roof. A hierarchy of courtyards help differentiate the public and the private spaces. With sports and photography being the main identity of the family, the objects selected are the medal and a tripod stand. The study of the tripod highlights the communal spaces, formal and informal, catering to different demographics. The Dolphin Club plays an important role by organizing many events, some in collaboration with other institutes, to bring the community together. The story of the medal awarded to his niece, a basketball aficionado, traces the significant physical fitness institutes in the Khel and the city. The most important institute in this narrative is the Don Bosco School, which has initiated many inter-school competitions encouraging sports.
Located in the El Khel, Creno's house stands out amongst its neighboring houses because of its modern appearance. It is constructed in RCC while retaining old timber members to maintain some authenticity. There were multifarious objects in the house, almost all intriguing in nature. The family is also culturally active in participating in local events. The daughters had won the trophy in the Sparrow Meliora competition. It is a cultural competition hosted by the Dolphin Club in the Kohima Village Council. Tracing down various events and competitions was indeed very interesting. The most interesting object was indubitably the solar panels on the roof of the house, which are made in corrugated sheets. We interacted with the local engineer of the electric division of Kohima. He took us to two power plants and explained how the energy is generated and transmitted across the state.
The Yeze house belongs to Crisofreno Yeze. It is a traditional timber house with a large courtyard in front of it and a pitched roof. Besides working as a government officer, Crisofreno also makes cane furniture. When we first met him, we observed a slightly faint tattoo on his arm, which got us to the story of the traditional tattoo art that prevailed in the Northeast India once, but has now faded away like tattoo itself. The spread of Christianity prohibited people from making any tattoos on their bodies. Tattoos in the olden times held a lot more importance. It represented gallantry, success, pride, age, status, caste, etc. These were made using rattan palm spikes and ink that was extracted from the resin of the red cedar tree. The spikes dipped in the ink were then hammered into the skin. The face tattoos were reserved for the warriors. The tattoos on the women represented the stage of their life. Thus, tattoos held a great symbolic value. Cane furniture made by Crisofreno is an ancestral tradition which he wants to take ahead. He makes the furniture at home and then sells it to the neighbors or the retailers in the town and makes some extra money. All this portrays his urge to keep alive the dying traditions and cultures of Nagaland.
The house with terraces is located on a hillside with house sitting on two different levels and belongs to a family of four. The house offers a very beautiful view of the valley from the terraces. The family members are very fond of exotic species of plants and have a lot of them planted on the terraces. The objects selected from the house were a book and a mic. The book became an object for us as the family had a lot of books and a small library kind of a setup on the lower floor. Also, all the family members were very fond of reading. The second object, mic, was selected as it was interesting to know that a resident of the house had a music school within the khel where they called some local teachers to teach music and musical instruments.
Nana Bello's house in the tea khel is a modest timber home to a family of 6. The low-hanging timber roof and the wide array of plants displayed outside give it its character. The house is replete with ordinary and distinctive objects, both traditional and modern. The first object we studied is the customary attire worn by men of the Angami tribe of Nagaland. It is unique to the tribe due to its specific pattern and color. The garment is stitched by hand and worn on festivals such as the Hornbill and Sekrani. It forms an important part of the identity of the Angami people. The second object is a mug made of dried gourd, which is locally known as isku. It is used to consume rice beer, a locally produced drink of fermented rice. It is prepared by an elderly woman in the khel who has perfected the recipe over several years. It is usually consumed on celebratory occasions, at the grounds, and at pailis, and is a significant part of community gatherings.
A girl named Valentina, living in a pitched roof house with a courtyard on the corner of the street, lives in a family of 8, where her parents are teachers. Filled with various objects of Kohima culture, 2 such interesting objects were selected, which are the MCP card, which means the Mother and Child Protection Card, and the Hornbill painting. Tracing out the trajectories of MCP card, we found out that this card was used as a file during the mother's pregnancy in the Naga hospital, where there are certain government schemes which gives the child and mother certain benefits regarding their health. Within Naga hospital, certain departments like immunization center take care of the 6-month baby if they are malnourished and need special care. For general vaccination and general checkup, they go to the rural nursing home, which is in the Khel itself and just 5 minutes walking distance away from the house. The hornbill painting was gifted to the couple as a present from their friends during their wedding reception in the Khedi Baptist Church. Their friends bought this painting during the famous Hornbill Festival in the Kohima Village, as it is considered as a symbol of friendship. Also, this painting is hung on the walls of Peri number 14, which is a traditional house in Kohima Village during Sekrani festival, where on this occasion they dance and enjoy this festival.
A Peli is a traditional house of Angami tribe in Kohima. It used to act as a community gathering space for peer groups during annual Sakrini festival of Kohima. While being used as community gathering space during Sakrini, people from Peak Hill were invited for the traditional meals. Bisons were butchered during these meals, and later the skull of these animals was showcased as a symbol of power. There were a lot of objects in this Peli that spoke about their traditional practice and culture. The object which we studied was the rice basket. The rice basket stored rice for community festivals and Sakrini, where they used to sing, dance, perform sacrificial rituals. But now the basket is used to store rice for their own consumption. The second object was the fishing net. The fishing net is still used in their paddy fields while cultivating rice to catch fishes and frogs. The fishes and frogs caught from the paddy fields are consumed by the family, and the excess is sold to the vendors in the village street market, including several Naga tribal delicacies.
Rutsa House in Peak Hill is a single-story humble house recently furnished with a blend of traditional ancestral objects and new modern daily objects. The residence has 6 cousins who have come from nearby villages in search of better education opportunities with a set of parents. Along with the formal education, the children have also cultivated at least one form of art, such as dancing, beadboxing, or painting. Hence, the first object selected was the wall art that was done in the children's bedroom. Painting on walls has been a classic activity in the state. The object thus led into the study of institutes which promote painting and further to the institutes involved in painting on walls in a larger scale. The second object opted was the taxi, which ties itself to the associations, simplifying the commute within the city and beyond. Working of these institutes were then further studied in detail.
The corner house's name exactly describes it. It is located at the corner junction between the P and D khels in a very segregated manner. It is the only one house to have a pig pen that hangs off the corner on wooden stilts. The father, the head of the house, was a small businessman who made enough to buy a plot adjacent to the corner house for basic agriculture. The mother, a housewife, deals in meats directly connected to the city's butcher shops. She also marinates meats in a gully or an aluminium vessel and uses the house's chimney to smoke and cook meats. This idea of cooking is a community activity where many people in the neighborhood gather and bond over cooking. It also helps with the fundraisers where cooked meat is supplied to churches for this event. The gully plays a very important role in this entire scenario. The other object was a novel, as the children are well versed in literature and really indulge in it too. The book travels from the Penthrill publication house down to a store in the city called Made in Nagaland. From here, its journey ends at the corner house in the village.
The house belongs to Nezoli. It was typically a ground floor construction, but later on, with the extension of family, they built the first floor solely out of wood. Nezoli was a farmer who had farms in the neighborhood and plots right next to his house. He is now a retired person who spends major part of his day sitting alone sipping the local rice beer in his bamboo mug. Bamboo, being found in abundance in Nagaland, is used in making several handicraft products. Mugs, dishes, spoons, and baskets are made extensively here. There are many self help groups run by ladies in the Peak Hill who make handicrafts mainly out of bamboo and earn a living through it. This further led us to discover another handicrafts institution called Women's Resources Organization, where women came together to make and sell products under the brand name Mikey. It is a very popular local brand in Nagaland. Another object found in the house was pork. All the people locally breed pigs in the back of their yard. These are used as feasts on special occasions like Christmas or marriages. Mr. Nezzoli received a body part of the pig as a return gift for visiting a close relative's wedding. It's used as an expression of love and gratitude. Pork being part of the staple diet, for daily use they buy it from the local shops, which further outsource their pigs from close by slaughterhouses.
So that was a quick sneak peek of the exhibition. We would like to invite you all to explore this exhibition as this virtual platform allows one the freedom to log in at any time, at any place, irrespective of the physical space or time zone that one is in. Feel free to share this link with your family, friends, and to all aficionados of architecture. Also, do get back to us with your feedback, be it your experiences, suggestions, or questions. We shall be happy to address them. See you around.